What's up, guys? My name's Jonathan, this is my Cannon, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cannoneer. Now, today we're going to be making some giant Diabolo-style airgun pellets that we can use as projectiles out of the cannon here. Now, you guys chose the Diabolo style for our new projectile that PCBWay and I should make for our new project together. Well, all the pieces of the mold are in, and I'm excited to show you guys the process of making those and what they look like when they're finished. And in a later video, we'll be shooting them out of the cannon here. So be sure, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that so you can keep up with that video. Well, we'll be testing them out of the cannon here. But anyway, before we head on over to the shop, I just wanted to give you guys a quick little word about PCBWay. They made the awesome mold that we're going to be using today, and you guys can take advantage of their awesome services. They offer 3D printing services, printed circuit board, CNC that we use for today's process, laser engraving, all kinds of awesome services that PCBWay can help you out with. If you have a design or a project that you'd like to bring to life, maybe just you got a design on paper that you're working on, they can help you bring that from just a drawing on a piece of paper to a project that you can hold in your hand, and then a final product that you can sell to clients and consumers, or maybe use for your own projects if you have something like this that you want to take advantage of their services on. So be sure to check out PCBWay using my link in the description below, as well as the pinned comment, and I'll meet you guys over at the shop in just a second, and we'll start making those giant Diabolo pellets. So now that we're over here in the shop, I just wanted to give you guys a quick unboxing of the new mold. This is a 3-piece mold, so I'll show you guys all 3 of them up close at the very end of this and show you how they work. So I get 1 piece in at a time. This is the last part of our mold. Everything comes very securely packaged, wrapped up. You guys see lots of bubble wrap. Everything's nice and secure, so it doesn't have to worry about getting damaged or dinged up or dented or broken during shipping, which is awesome. And you guys can see that the mold itself is going to be put inside of a bag. It's also going to be oiled, so everything's nice and oiled so it doesn't worry about getting rusted. This is a mild steel mold. You can get them made out of titanium or aluminum, different types of steels. This is just mild steel. Everything is beautifully machined, nice and shiny. Everything's got nice crisp edges, nothing sharp to poke you, nothing sharp to cut you or damage you or mess up the mold or anything. Everything looks awesome. So I'm going to get the other pieces of the mold and bring them together here, and I'll show you guys how they work. So since the Diabolo pellet has the cavity, or in the base, that cone cavity, we've got a bottom piece that's got a cone built into it, and we're going to unite it with the other 2 pieces of the mold. So there's the other half, and there's the cone base. You can see it's nicely in its bag still, all oiled up, waiting for the other pieces to arrive. So we'll get it opened, and there it is right there. You can see all the little meeting up holes and everything like that so it can come together. And just like that, we have a completed mold ready to be poured. So first things first, we've got to melt the metal that we're going to use to pour our pellet with. Now that's our ladle here, and that's a block of zinc. I know you guys were concerned about me using lead, so we started switching over to zinc to make these. So we're going to put it in our forge and fire the forge up, and that's going to do an incredibly good job of melting that zinc incredibly quickly. Now, if you don't have a forge, you can melt them on top of a stove. We have a stove in our shop, just a basic home oven that we use to keep things hot. After we've melted it, we just put it on the eye and it'll keep it nice and melty for you. So after a couple of minutes or so in the forge, this will be nice and liquefied, melted in there, and you can take it out and then use it to pour your pellets with. Now after a couple of minutes in the forge, you can take it out and it should be nice and liquefied. You can see our ladle's nice and red and our zinc is nice and liquidy. So we're going to take this over to the mold and then we're going to start pouring our giant Diabolo pellets. So I'm carrying it over there now. And I've already got the mold clamped together. I clamped one to the bottom of the table itself and then one to the sides to hold them together. I didn't actually need to do this. I started figuring out towards the end here that you don't really need to clamp them together. This mold holds together incredibly well. I know you guys also suggested that I smoke the mold so I didn't have to worry about it getting so sticky and the projectiles would be easier to move. But these are the first pours and it does have some oil on it, and it turns out I also didn't really need to worry about that. So zinc has been poured all the way up to the top, just a little bit past the spout there. You can see it starting to cool. You can see the color change right there. And now that it's cool and it's going to sit for a second, I'm going to go put that melted zinc on the stove so it'll stay nice and runny for us. The stove is very hot, so I don't have to melt it again. And then I'm going to demold this and remove the pellet itself. So we'll go ahead and take off the clamps And then I'm going to use our wooden hammer to just kind of gently tap the mold apart. It turns out I really didn't need to do that either. It does just easily come apart as the mold stays hot. You can just kind of gently just knock it apart like that. So take the mold apart, and there's one side off, the other side off. Our projectile stays inside. And there's our finished projectile with a beautiful cone in the base. And the next step's going to be to remove that little thing at the top, the little spout. And I'll do that in just a second. But I'm going to make another one of these, put the mold back together. It's nice and hot, so you don't really have to worry about things not pouring well. The mold holds its heat very well. So we'll go ahead and clamp it together, clamp it back to the table, and pour another pellet. So here's everything clamped down again, and our nice liquid zinc that stayed hot on the stove. Go ahead and pour that in almost to the spout, just a little bit past, and you can see the color change there as that zinc starts to harden. It doesn't take very long. I'm going to pour just a little bit more in to make sure that it's nice and full. You can see the color change as the zinc cools off. It's going to get kind of a less shiny look to it, kind of get a more matte finish to it. And once it's solid and dried on the inside, we can go ahead and take the mold apart and take the projectile out of the mold. And then we can finish up that projectile, and you can make as many as you want. As long as this mold is together on the table, you can pour as many as you want. And you don't really need to preheat this mold. It worked incredibly well, just cold out of the box. It fits together really well, no leakage. PCBWay CNC machines are very, very precise. This is a very well-fitting mold. It works incredibly well. And I think you guys are going to be happy if you decide to go with PCBWay for any of your projects. So there's that completed projectile. And the next step's going to be to dunk them in some water and cool them down so I can actually touch them. And then we'll remove the little pour spout part on the top. And this is actually the second projectile mold that PCBWay and I have made together. In case you missed the first one, I'll link it up here. And our last step here is to remove the little spout from the top of our pellets. Now, I know you guys suggested I use a bandsaw for this, but this is not lead, it's zinc. I've also got my respirator mask on, so we don't have to worry too much about that. So first I'm going to take a cutoff disc here and just very gently go around the top of our projectile, around the little pour spout. Very thin cutoff disc, you can see me doing that now. And I'm just going to work my way very gently back and forth around the edge. It's flat, it's held flat in our vise here, our post vise, so very simple process, just very gently go back and forth. You can see it starting to cut through, and eventually it will cut completely through, and that little piece will fall off just like that. And then I'm going to smooth the top with our cutting disc, and then I'm going to take a sanding disc and smooth it off as well, so everything stays nice and smooth on the top. Now, just rinse and repeat this over and over and over again for as many pellets as you make, and that's all there is to it, and you've got a beautiful pellet ready to be fired out of the cannon. Now, all those little pieces, you can see that one on the ground down there, you reuse those and melt them down, so waste not, want not, and now we've got a completed pellet ready to be fired with the cannon. And you can really see how easy it is to grind this off of there. There's nothing to it. Just take your cutoff wheel and go gently around the pellet itself, around the little spout there. It's flat, it's held in flat, so it's really easy to make sure that everything gets cut off completely and correctly. So just take your time, work your way around the edges, and you'll cut completely through. And then you can remelt the little pour spout at the end, just like that. Smooth off the top with our cutting wheel. Make sure that everything's nice and flat so it'll fly true. Take it out of the vise, and you've got a completely finished, ready to be fired Diabolo pellet for our cannon. And I also wanted to give you guys a close-up look at our mold here now that we're done. So there's the bottom piece with the cone. There's the male version. You can see the indents that will line up with the female version right there, and the indents on it to hold them together. There's the base. And everything goes together. You guys can see there's also some indents on the bottom of the male and female sides that will go into the base itself and hold everything together. And here's an up-close look at our finished Diabolo pellet. I know you guys had some suggestions about maybe filling in the cone with something to help it fly a little more stable. So be sure to let me know down in the comments your ideas to help us fire this thing a little more stably, because my plan is just to shove it down the cannon with some powder and touch it off. So I know you guys had some ideas, so be sure to let me know, and I thought you guys might want to see it up close.
Well, guys, that was a fun one. And that mold throws some beautiful projectiles, and I'm excited to see how they fly out of the cannon here. So thanks again to PCBWay for making that awesome mold. And speaking of PCBWay, it's time for you guys to pick out our next project together. I think you guys suggested a Foster slug, so leave me a couple comments. Tell me what shape and design of projectile you'd like to see us test out next with PCBWay's awesome services as a project together, and I'll get that in the works. Well, anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out here till the end. If you did like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. It's really going to help us get this video out into the world of YouTube. I appreciate you guys hanging out. My name's Jonathan. This is my cannon, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode of The Cannoneer.